my favorite thing about working in healthcare is the people. This industry brings together brilliant, highly motivated individuals who are driven by the opportunity to make a difference. My name is Hallie Tecco, and this is The Heart of Healthcare, a podcast where I'll be introducing you to the people on the ground moving the needle in public health and medicine. April is World Autism Month. The diagnosed autism population has gone up 241% since the year 2000. And the CDC's most recent estimates are that 1 in 44 children are on the spectrum. Beyond autism, there's a broader 1 in 6 people who are considered neurodivergent. This means they process the world differently than the majority of people. And this includes dyslexia, OCD, ADHD, autism, and more. For too long, this community has been ignored and not given the adequate support and resources to thrive. Today, for this special episode, I am handing the host mic over to Marissa Pittard, co-founder of Beaming Health, which aims to create a better world for neurodiverse families. Marissa is neurodivergent herself. She struggles with sensory processing challenges that make it difficult to navigate typical environments. She founded Beaming Health because the status quo for families is simply unacceptable. Marissa will be chatting with today's guest, actor Major Dodson. Major was diagnosed on the spectrum as a young child and benefited quite a bit from early intervention services, such as speech therapy, that supported him towards his goals. Acting played a major role in his development early on, and he has had quite the successful acting career so far, being featured in popular TV shows such as The Walking Dead and American Horror Story, and most recently, he was the star of the movie Tyson's Run, which is in theaters nationwide right now. Please enjoy this episode, and I will see you next week.
Major, I'm so excited we get to do this today. For everyone listening, my name is Marissa. I'm one of the founders of Beaming Health. I've had the privilege of getting to know Major and his family through our shared passion of creating a better world for neurodiverse families. And neurodiversity and autism have gotten a lot more attention in recent years, as I'm sure many of you know. And I'm thrilled to be here today with Major to discuss autism and the broader neurodiversity movement.
I'm happy to be here.
Let's jump in. Major, as you all know, it's Autism Month. Would love to start out by asking you about terminology. We know words matter. What are your thoughts on how we should talk about people on the spectrum? Many people hear autistic person, person with autism. What are your thoughts on that?
For me personally, I don't mind being called, an autistic person or a person with autism. Autism isn't a dirty word. So just, saying, oh, this person has it, it's just stating facts. I think the only one that really kind of irks me is autist, but I don't think anybody actually, says that in terms of I don't know. I don't think anybody says that one. And of course, slurs. Nobody wants to be called slurs. But in terms of just describing what somebody has, it's a part of them. I'm an autistic person. I don't think there is any harm in just saying autistic. On the spectrum is great, but autistic is just, it's what somebody is if they're autistic.
Love that. And so, in other words, just checking with the individual person maybe, or either talking about is great advice.
Right, because, I'm fine with it, but somebody else might not be. So it's always good to ask.
Love it. That's great. Major, I'm curious how you think about describing autism to someone who maybe hasn't heard of it before or hasn't had exposure to someone on the spectrum. Do you have any favorite ways that you've explained it to others?
I guess I just haven't been in the situation a whole lot describing what autism is to somebody. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's just we're all individuals and we all have our individual quirks. As Doug DeMuro might say, quirks and features. He's a guy who talks about cars on YouTube. But yeah, we all have different things about us, and some of us are just more different, but it doesn't degrade us in any way or make us less human, you know. We just all have our different things about us, and autism is one of those things.
Of course. I love that. And related to this, one way I heard a parent told me they described it once was just because a computer isn't running Windows as an operating system doesn't mean it's broken. It's just different. And I love that too, what you said. It's just we're all different. Simple as that. Yeah. Rewinding back a bit to early on in your journey as a human, just it can be hard to recognize when an autism diagnosis might be needed for a lot of folks because it has so many different features. And even then, actually getting one can be challenging. Can you share more about your experience with getting a diagnosis?
Well, yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 4, and I was very precocious, but it kind of just had that really poor attention span. So it was kind of maybe he does. So we got me diagnosed, and after that, I went to occupational therapy, tried to get into schools, and the occupational therapy was amazing. I would not be as far along in my development as I am now if I hadn't gone and gotten that attention. What's the term? Early intervention. Mm-hmm. Because I got that, because my parents were so diligent in making sure that I got that, it absolutely helped a whole lot. And I mentioned school. Mm-hmm. School was an absolute nightmare for my parents because I think I've talked about this a few times. I was living in Texas back then. I grew up in Dallas. And the school system did not believe that I had autism and needed special support for it. Mm. The school hired a diagnostician to come and kind of check me out, clear me for school. And the diagnostician tested me in a bounce house and kind of saw how long I would talk to other kids without going off on a tangent about something I was interested in at the time. And just talking about myself. And I believe the span that I had was about 4 seconds of attention, just unbridled conversation between somebody else before moving on to say, oh, did you know about this about trains? So yeah, that early intervention definitely helped.
I am so glad. And I know your parents are incredible in getting you access to those early intervention services that make such a difference. I've also heard you talk about before just the role that acting has played in how you grew up and just evolved as a person. Can you share more about that here?
Well, for me, the best part about acting is you get to go on a set and meet all of these people who support each other, who support the production, who do their thing well. And in that time when you're making something, it's a very laborious process. And so these people are all working super, super hard. And it's always just this kind of family environment that gets created, this camaraderie between everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think over the years, as I have been on more sets, of course, I started out on television with The Walking Dead and American Horror Story and Revolution too. But that wasn't as much of a prolonged role. But still, that experience was very eye-opening for me. Just, that support. That it was really cool because, everybody needs support. But when you're on a set and there's so much pressure to do a good job, to not disappoint everybody, to kind of show your professionalism, I think there is absolutely some growth there because it's just a different experience each time.
Totally. And I'm so glad you brought this up just around the sets being such a great place and environment for you. And I'm curious, was there anything in particular the sets you've been a part of did? And I ask just because I know so many employers and schools and other environments are starting to ask themselves how they can be more accommodating to folks that are learning and thinking differently. So curious if there's anything that sets did or that the community around you did that was super helpful.
I think around the time that I was doing the TV roles, there wasn't really any overt mention of me being on the spectrum or needing any special attention or anything. It was more just, hey, there's this really sweet little kid. He's a bit of a weird nerd. He brings all of his cameras to set, and he's really cute and cool. And through that, I made friends. And through that, it was just a nice atmosphere. I do remember one thing on American Horror Story. There is this, I was in season 4, I believe. It was Freak Show. And there's this clown named Twisty, and he wears this horrifying mask.
Oh, no.
And he's just kind of gross looking. And for the production, they brought me into the makeup trailer with the wonderful John Carroll Lynch, who played Twisty. Super, super nice guy. He's just amazing. What they did was they kind of showed me the makeup process, because little kid me, you know, they were worried, okay, will he be able to differentiate or not? Like, will he get too scared? And so they had me watch the makeup process for Twisty to kind of get more acquainted with John Carroll Lynch and, you know, see that, okay, this is just our buddy and he's wearing a creepy clown costume. But, oh, and that also reminds me, on The Walking Dead, there's a whole part where I'm just surrounded by zombies. And every once in a while, in a kind of a lull on the set where we were just kind of relaxing, there would be just a bunch of people in full zombie getup coming up to me and saying, "Hey man, you did fantastic on that take." And they'd be sitting around, they'd be smoking, drinking water, just saying, "Hey man, you did good." And it's like I said, it's just it's a nice atmosphere to be in. And I hope that, you know, as more actors who are neurodivergent are coming around, that there will be more accommodations on set that are kind of specifically tailored for them. That wasn't my experience because, you know, it wasn't as open now, but as it is now. But I do think as time goes on, we'll have more of that. And I think that's great.
Totally. But I don't want to miss something really important you did share. And it sounds like just inclusion, honestly, like people just being excited and in community with you and supportive of you made a huge difference.
And it's just amazing.
Just related to your experience on sets and in acting, just your success, I know, is an inspiration to so many families. I talk to so many families and it comes up just how inspired they are by you and the success that you've had. And in your most recent movie, Tyson's Run, which is incredible. Excellent job. You had the unique opportunity. You were playing a character that was on the spectrum. And I was just curious if you can share more about how you approached the role and that experience for you.
I approached Tyson with just an aura of respectfulness. I didn't want it to be bad. Just to put it very, very simply, I wanted it to be a respectful, inclusive interpretation of this character. So I practiced with my mom, because we've had friends over the years who are on the spectrum, like from playgroups and stuff. We're not, you know, it's not just me and my traits, and we didn't like just make something up. It was a lot of research and work that went into making Tyson a real believable character and making sure that it was respectful, that it was accurate, that it was a good interpretation of somebody on the spectrum. And it was just a lot of work, and I'm happy that people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think you did it with a lot of dignity, and you did a really excellent job. And
thank you.
It's super powerful to see you doing as well as you are, and excited to watch that continue. I know this kind of representation hasn't always been true, and would be curious if you can just talk about why this is so important and anything else you'd want to share on that topic.
Well, we're just becoming more aware these days of people who are who they are, and it's important when you have roles like Tyson, and, you know, just people who are on the spectrum, who are neurodivergent, people who are gay, transgender. You know, and if you have somebody who is different, I have air quotation marks right now. You just can't see them. There's somebody who is different. We're in a much more inclusive time now in terms of everything, but this is also very true of casting. So I think going forward, it's really important to have people who kind of match their characters, because that representation is getting a lot more accessible now, I guess is the word. I'm blanking on words for it, but you get what I'm saying. we're in an era now where that is necessary and it is important.
We'll be right back after the break.
Has your chronic illness made it difficult to continue working in the traditional way? Want to learn how to find and create flexible remote work that both accommodates your chronic illness and generates an income? Join the Patients Getting Paid membership, a community of chronicpreneurs where people just like you find workshops and trainings, weekly updated condition-specific gigs, twice monthly coaching calls, co-workings, accountability, and the kindest community to support you on your path to make money while working from anywhere and taking good care of yourself. Learn more or join us at patientsgettingpaid.com.
Zooming out a bit from specifically autism, but just what you've been talking about, just broadly, just differences, neurodiversity in general. I know neurodiversity is a term that gets a lot of attention these days, especially during Autism Month. It's April. And I know this term is used to describe a wide range of differences, including autism, ADHD, and others. Curious what the term sort of means to you, or how you would share what it's about.
I really like the term neurodivergent. It has an air of dignity and acceptance and appreciation to it. You know, it kind of feels more individualistic than just, you know, oh, they're different, or oh, they're unusual. You know, just like kind of weird, nasty words. But neurodivergent, it just encapsulates so many things and so many people that somebody who is neurodivergent can just simply say, oh, and I'm neurodivergent. It's not a huge deal. It makes it a more accessible thing, and more easy to understand perhaps for somebody who isn't aware of it beforehand. Just say, oh yeah, I'm neurodivergent. And it'll help them understand, I think, a little better. I think it's a really good term, and I'm happy that it's kind of become more commonly used.
Totally. Another phrase I've heard to describe it is just neurotypical really just means a member of the majority, not that it's more correct or better necessarily. So just that the movement is really just about what you just said, you know, shifting towards a focus on strengths and valuing the diversity that comes with neurodiversity. It's just so important. Curious, would you consider yourself broadly just an advocate for others with neurodivergence?
If they want to see me that way, I'm absolutely okay with it. I mean, I'm honored. I'm very happy that they do. I guess I'm very self-critical. I have my moments of, do I deserve this? Because I know that there are just so many other people out there who are trying to do something special, who perhaps haven't had so many opportunities. And I guess I just kind of equate it to more, I wish it was more easy for other people to have the support and I hate to use the word success, but I guess success that I've had. I don't know, it kind of just turns into me hoping that it all turns out well for them, because I just want people to be happy, to do what they want to do in life, because we only have one chance, and we are who we are. So if they want to see me that way, I really appreciate it, but I want more for you than just seeing me that way. It's probably, I can put it more eloquently if I had, I don't know, if I had more vocabulary twinged day, perhaps, but you get what I'm saying.
Totally. No, and I hope that, Major, you are able to see just the difference you are making, and just living your life and doing the things you love. You are bringing about change, and it's really cool and powerful to watch. And I think something else that you just said too that is really important is just the neurodiversity movement. I know sometimes gets critics who say, oh, it's romanticizing things, or just would undermine people who do need access to real support. And it's just saying the default is not to assume that this difference is bad. something to be celebrated and accepted. And you're just such a great example of that. Another phrase I've heard that makes me think of you, Major, is just, you don't grow out of autism, you grow into it. And it's so cool to see how you've done that and really are bringing about awesome change here. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that. It's interesting to hear that about myself. I'm kind of in my own little world, making sure that I'm doing all right. And
you're doing great.
I'm happy to hear that.
Major, one last question here for you is just, what advice would you give to friends, families, coworkers, anyone out there that's looking to support someone on the spectrum or with any kind of neurodivergence?
Just be empathetic, be aware. These are people just like you. They all have interests. They all have things that they love. They all need support like any person does. Just be a good person to your fellow humans and be there for them. Be their friend, because everybody needs a friend.
No, that's beautiful. Love it. Major, we so appreciate your time and insights today. I know you're very busy, and thank you all for listening to this special episode of The Heart of Healthcare. You can catch Major in his movie Tyson's Run. It's in theaters. Follow him on Twitter or on Instagram at Major_Dodson. I'm Marissa Pittard, one of the co-founders of Beaming Health and special guest host. You can learn more about the work that we're doing at beaminghealth.com.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Heart of Healthcare. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on social, and tell all your friends to listen. The Heart of Healthcare is a product of OffScrip Health. We are a healthcare engagement company built for patients and caregivers by patients and caregivers. Our executive producers are Matthew Zachary and Andrew McDowell. Our senior producer is Brianna Seeley. Our intern is Antonella Sterniolo. Our host is Hallie Tecco. It is recorded, mixed, and edited by Brianna Seeley. For advertising and media inquiries, email media@offscrip.com. That's media@offscrip.com. For more information, visit offscrip.com.